Hi everyone, this is Andrea at the Englewood Charlotte Library, and I'm going to show you how to make some wizarding treats from the wizarding world of Harry Potter. So come on in and join us. We'll be starting off with our butterbeer caramel popcorn, pumpkin juice, pumpkin pasties, and as a special treat, a polyjuice potion smoothie. Before we get started, make sure you wash your hands or are wearing sanitary cooking gloves. This will help prevent any cross-contamination of ingredients and make sure your food is presentable to everybody else. I already laid out all my ingredients that are ready to go. In this recipe, we're going to be using 4 different kinds of flavoring extracts. Almond extract. This is our vanilla extract. We're also going to be using rum flavor extract, not actual rum, but rum extract. They're going to be including some butter extract, even though our recipe calls for a cup of butter, which actually is 2 sticks. The butter we're using is sweet cream unsalted butter. You can also use sweet cream salted butter if you prefer. Other ingredients, you may have these already in your pantry. We have ground nutmeg, ground cinnamon, and ground ginger. We're also going to be using light brown sugar. If you are using ingredients out of your pantry, make sure you have light brown sugar. Alright, so for the butterbeer caramel popcorn, you do want to make sure that you have some popcorn ready to go. Not everyone has an air popper, so I do recommend using Orville Redenbacher's Natural Simply Salted. It's lightly salted, there's no extra flavors or additives, and 1 whole bag is equal to about 10 cups of popcorn. Now when you open this, make sure it's already cooled down and you're ready to go. And you're just going to open the bag and put your popped popcorn into another container, making sure that you don't put any unpopped kernels in there as well. Best way to make sure you don't get unpopped kernels is just to scoop out the popped popcorn with your hand. Oh, that smells so good already. So first, I'm going to turn my hot plate on right here. This can get very hot, so be very careful. We want to heat our saucepan to medium heat. So medium is generally about number 3 or number 4 on your stove. I'm going to set it to number 3 and let that start warming up. While that's warming up, I'm going to go ahead and unwrap our butter and put that right on in. You can just stick the whole stick in there. It doesn't matter, it's all going to melt down. Always have a rag on hand to clean your hands in between ingredients so you don't get too slippery. Okay, next we're going to add a cup of our light brown sugar. So I'm going to grab my cup measuring cup. I have a beautiful rainbow measuring cup set. Light brown sugar. Now you want to get as much brown sugar as you can in this, so you really want to pack it in. So the first thing you could do is just pour it right on into the cup. Now if you have an easier way of putting your sugar in the measuring cup, wonderful, go ahead and do that. But you want to make sure you get as much sugar as you can, and you really want to pack it in there. So this is what I like to do. I like to fill it as much as it'll go. Press it down with my hand. Got a little on the table, that's okay. And just pour some more in. Keep going until I got it all the way full to the brim. Woo! It's okay if there's a little spillage. Messes happen in the kitchen, but that's how you make magic. I'm going to add a little more just to top this off. butter is already starting to melt. Well, you can kind of see it. So while that's melting, I'm just going to go ahead and scoop in our sugar, and I'm going to continually stir this. And we're going to keep stirring this until the pot of butter and sugar starts to boil. We want to make sure all the butter and all the sugar are dissolved and melting together. So we're going to have a nice dark brown consistency like this. So just let that go for a while. Make sure you keep stirring it. Keep an eye on it. Have an adult help you if you're not sure if you want to use the stove. It's okay. So my butter is pretty much all melted, but this hasn't started to boil yet. But I just want to show you what I have right now. So there is a layer of melted butter that's this light color on top, but underneath you see that nice dark brown caramel color that we usually like. We want to continually stir this to make sure all the butter and brown sugar are combined thoroughly. We don't want any sugar granules left because that's not very pleasant. Alright, plus this hasn't started boiling yet. Once this boils, we're going to let it boil and cook for another 5 minutes. And during that time, I'm going to measure out our extracts, our seasonings, and our baking soda that we'll be adding. Alright, as you're stirring, you're going to notice bubbles start to form. Your mixture is going to start looking very frothy, and then that's how you know you're getting close to boiling point. If you watch it, it's going to bubble out at you. It looks really cool, but you want to keep stirring right now. This is very important. So this is starting to boil now. There's bubbles rising to the top of the mixture and popping. So I'm gonna let that sit, and without stirring it for the next 5 minutes, just let that sit and let that go. Okay. I'm going to start with my dry ingredients and then go with the wet ingredients. So first we're starting with 1 teaspoon of baking soda. If I can get my box open. Make sure your ingredients are open before you start so it's easier for you. We're just going to add 1 big heaping teaspoon of baking soda. I'm actually going to combine these into another measuring cup. Break up any chunks in your baking soda. Yep, okay. So I'm showing you all my spices, but I actually don't need them. If you want to add some more for flavor, that's fine. But actually for this ingredient, for this recipe, all we need is our ground nutmeg. So of our ground nutmeg, we will need a 1/4 teaspoon, which is this little guy. So just get us 1 nice big heaping 1/4 teaspoon of ground nutmeg, add that to our baking soda and give that a stir. You want that nicely incorporated right in there. Again, break up any small chunks you might see in there. You don't want chunks of baking soda in your popcorn. Trust me, it's not delicious. Alright, give that a little break up, a little more stirring. Oh, nutmeg is that smell of Halloween, that smell of magic in the air. That's always going to be nutmeg. Nutmeg and ginger and clove are my favorite scent combination. I also like lavender and lemon. So this is our baking soda and nutmeg mixture, and that's going to go in at the very end on our popcorn. Alright, that's doing really nice. We have about 2 minutes left on the caramel, so we're going to go ahead and get into our extracts. So we're going to start with our butter extract, and for that we just need 1 teaspoon. rum extract. Now our rum extract we really don't need too much of, so we're only going to do 3/4 of a teaspoon. So we're going to take our 1/4 teaspoon and just pour it in 3 times. Be very careful with this one, it comes out fast. Let's see. So there's 1. There's 2. And there's 3. You really don't want too much of the rum extract. It's a very strong flavor, and especially if you're not acclimated to it, you won't like it. Okay, next we need 1 teaspoon of our almond extract. Almond extract is great for a lot of things. If you like to bake and you like to bake cakes, add a little almond extract to your next yellow or just plain vanilla cake mix. It gives it a really nice flavor, kind of almost a coconut texture. It's delightful. And finally, we're going to add our vanilla extract. And for our vanilla extract, we actually want 4 teaspoons. It's a lot, but it is good. All right. Oh, that's my timer. But I'm going to measure these out quick before I get to that. So give me a moment. 2, 3, and 4. There you go. All right. Yes, thank you, timer. Okay, so the timer is telling me that my caramel is ready to go. I'm going to give this a little stir. All right, now this is really fun and it's quite magical. So I'm going to. Who says chemistry isn't magic? All right, so our caramel is totally ready to go, but we want to make sure it tastes delicious, so we're going to add our extracts. Now, extracts are made with alcohol, so you do need to be careful in this process as there is going to be a reaction. It's a chemical reaction. Who says chemistry isn't magic? So here we go. Just pour this in slowly. Can you hear that? Ooh. Beware the steam. The steam does sting. The steam does sting. All right, give that a good mix. Let that cook in. You want your flavors all throughout this caramel because you want it all to taste like butterbeer. All right, this is going to be fabulous. Okay, now before we pour this out, we're going to add our baking soda and nutmeg mixture to this as well. So just go ahead and pour that in, giving it a nice good stir. Get it off the back of your spoon. Oh, this smells wonderful. That nutmeg is a fantastic addition. It is going to be fabulous. Look how frothy and white and pale this is. This is ready to go. Give that a nice stir. I'm going to turn off my hot plate since I'm eating one. Ooh, this is getting really bubbly. Look at that. So I'm going to add our caramel mixture right into the popcorn. Ooh. It is light, it is fluffy, it's airy. This is going to be a wonderful treat. It's fun to make with your friends and family. You're gonna love it. So I'm gonna put my hot dish on the kettle. I'm gonna just use my spoon to start mixing the caramel in with the popcorn like so. You want to cover as much of this popcorn with it as you can. Oh, this is so good. It smells great. The texture is beautiful. You did a great job on this. Look at that. All right. Get that all mixed in there. You want to fold it gently. You don't want to break up your popcorn too much into tinier pieces because you really want to enjoy that full mouth crunch. All right. This is good to go. Scrape down the sides. All right, now make sure you have a baking sheet nearby because you're going to transfer your popcorn onto that baking sheet to let it cool. to spread this out onto the baking sheet before it gets stuck in my bowl. So just go ahead and let that fall right out. Oh man. Now be careful because it is very hot still. Maybe don't use a plastic container like I did, but that's okay. I'm Miss Andrea and I approve this message. Alright, and you just want to evenly spread out the popcorn onto a nice layer right here. Now, if you've ever made homemade butterbeer, you know one important ingredient is missing from this. That's butterscotch flavor. So what I decided to do, a little bit extra from this recipe, is add some dark chocolate chips and some butterscotch morsels. From the baking aisle at your local grocery store, you can just purchase these. It's wonderful. But we want this to cool down. So give that a moment to cool. Now we're going to make our own pumpkin juice. Now, everything here doesn't look like it'll make pumpkin juice, especially puree pumpkin? No way. This is going to be delicious though, I promise. Alright, once again, I'm using my hot plate, and we don't want this to be too hot. So we are going to start by warming this up at number 2 setting. That's pretty low, it's low medium. And I got a nice little sauce pot right here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to combine pumpkin puree and apple juice and water. So use a measuring cup and measure out two cups. Just pour that right on in. Now this is apple juice from concentrate. That means it has all the nice good stuff for you in it. So 2 cups of apple juice, go and pour that right on in. Put the cap back on. And we're gonna add our water. There should also be about at least 2 cups. You want equal amount of water and apple juice. So the apple juice isn't too strong. So yeah, that's about 2 cups. We'll just go ahead and pour that in. A little for the pot. All right, and so we're gonna go ahead and open our pumpkin pie filling. It's also pumpkin puree. They are the same thing. So go ahead and pop that open. Ooh, lovely orange color in here. And just dump this all in. Carefully, you don't want to make any splashes and make a bigger mess. Ooh. Now right away, this does not smell very appetizing, but that's because it's still cold, unseasoned, unspiced, unflavored, uncooked. All right, so throw that in. Throw that away. And we're just going to start giving this a nice slow stir. You want to break up the pumpkin puree in here so it incorporates with everything else. And we want to bring this to a boil. Let's see. I'm actually going to turn this up to number 3 just so we get a little more heat going. But yeah, give that a stir, break up the pumpkin, be very gentle. I might have picked too small a pot for this recipe, that's okay. All right, once you think you have your pumpkin fully incorporated, you don't feel any lumps, you can just let this sit and cook for a couple minutes until this is boiling. Okay, so I actually turned up the heat on this to number 4 and I let it cook for about 10 minutes. It's just starting to get to the boiling point now. So we're going to prepare to add our next ingredient. Now the recipe I use does say to add apricot nectar. Cannot find it. A suitable substitute actually is mango nectar. It's just as good. So we want 3/4 of a cup of the mango nectar and we're going to add it to this and let this boil for another 5 minutes. So carefully Slowly pour this in. Guess that's right, pot. One more thing to cook. Put that aside and make sure to start your timer. I have mine set to 5 minutes and go. I'm just going to give this a little stir to mix in all our ingredients together. Get that mango nectar nice and incorporated in with the rest of our pumpkin puree and apple juice. All right, and we want this to boil for 5 minutes. I'm going to bring up my temperature one more time to number 5 and just leave that as it is. All right, that's my timer going off for this. Now I'm going to set my timer for 30 minutes. This is going to be a long one. So sit back, relax, don't worry about it. Okay, so this is sufficiently cooked now. Nice, lovely. Now it's not quite boiling for me, but that's okay. It is significantly warm and cooked enough. I'm going to bring this down to number 3 again. I don't want this to overcook. And now I am going to add a teaspoon of ginger, a teaspoon of vanilla extract, and a tablespoon of pumpkin spice, pumpkin pie spice. So I have my teaspoon, and I will grab my ginger first. Ground ginger is always good for these recipes. You don't really want to use fresh ginger. Fresh ginger is too strong. So we want a nice heaping spoonful, so go ahead and just take the whole cap off. Just get right on in there. Give it a little tap. Flatten it with your finger so you know you have just enough. If you have too much, just scrape it right back in your jar. Nice and easy. A little bit of a mess, but that's why we have our towel. So here you go. 1 teaspoon of ginger. Next, we need our vanilla extract, 1 teaspoon of that as well. Pour this in over your pot, so if you have any excess, that's okay, you get a little extra flavor. Like that. All right. And finally, we need a tablespoon of our pumpkin pie spice. It's okay if you have a little bit more than you thought you were going to have. Just tap it down. There you go. We have 1 full tablespoon of pumpkin pie spice for us right there. All right, then we're going to stir this all in, making sure it incorporates nicely. You don't want any lumps or bumps or anything like that. You want it to taste really nice. So give this a nice gentle stir. Of spices, go ahead and just break those up gently with your spoon and stir them right on in. Now it's smelling really nice. It's even getting that nice dark pumpkin pie color too. It's beautiful. Okay, so now this needs to simmer and cook for another 30 minutes. Make sure you set a timer and keep a close eye on it. You don't want this to spill over. So I'm going to give this a little more stirring, set my timer, and I'll see you in 30 minutes. So just to show you guys, I'm going to go ahead and pour my beautiful pumpkin juice right into the pitcher. Now this is a messy process. This is heavy and hot, so make sure you get an adult to help you with this. I'm going to lay down my spill cloth. Go ahead and put my pitcher on here, and I am going to use my hot grip, my oven mitt, to help me hold the bottom of the pot as I pour. Now, you want to place your strainer across the top of your container that you're going to be pouring into. Let me just show you where that is. There we go. Much better. Hold the pot with your strongest hand. There you go. Whoops. Okay, I actually don't need the grip. This is okay. And just slowly start pouring. When your strainer fills like that, let it sit and let it drain. It takes a moment. You want to make sure that you have fresh, cold ice in there, as this is very hot juice. All right, use my spoon to go ahead and start scraping some of the pumpkin remain. Look at that, you can reuse that too, you know. And actually, I think I will. Because this is pumpkin pie filling, everyone. Look at that, it blends perfectly into our next recipe, which is pumpkin pasties. So you can go ahead and just scoop that out. I'm going to put my filling into this measuring cup right here. Just give that a little squish, get all the liquid out. You want all that delicious, delicious juice. Okay, so this is a process that's gonna take a while. I'm just gonna go ahead and speed up and fast forward through this. All right, that's plenty. So I'm gonna take these away. I'm gonna hang on to this. But this here, ladies and gentlemen, is a nice cold pitcher of pumpkin juice. Give that a nice wipe. Put that lid right on top. And there you go. Pumpkin juice. Okay, guys. Now we're gonna make some pumpkin pasties. This is gonna be super easy if you just made pumpkin juice with me, because now we have a delicious spiced pumpkin pie filling. And I like to pick up puff pastry sheets straight out of the freezer just to save me some time with making dough. I am not good at making dough. Puff pastry sheets are a great option. We're going to start by turning our oven on and preheating it at 400 degrees. Okay, we have our oven on, and now we're going to roll out our puff pastry dough. I'm going to use a one cup measuring cup as our outline for our dough that we're going to stamp out. So I'm gonna go ahead and open this. So I made sure my puff pastry dough had plenty of time to thaw out. I only stored it in our refrigerator for a couple hours. So it's not frozen anymore, it's just thawed. Okay. So at home you can take a rolling pin and you can roll this out flatter and wider if you want more dough, thinner pastry crust. I'm gonna leave it as it is. I don't want too much. So I'm just gonna take my measuring cup and just press it right in. Peel away the excess dough around it. A good idea is to use a knife to help you cut this out much neater, but I don't have a knife. All right, and then you can just peel the dough right off. And there you go, you have a nice, beautiful circle ready for filling. Repeat this process until you get as many as you want. All right, and then it's so very simple from here. Just take a little bit of your pie filling, plop it right in the center. Ooh, this pie filling is still hot. You can see the steam coming off of it. Yummy. Now you don't want too much filling, because otherwise you're gonna have a mess. Just like a nice, I'd say tablespoon in the center of your large ones. I plan to share these with a couple of my coworkers here at the Charlotte County Library System, and I really hope they enjoy these treats. Your youth departments are working very hard to bring you quality virtual programming this summer, so we really hope you stay tuned to the Charlotte County Library Facebook page for all of our fun events, activities, and special performers. You'll also see me in several craft videos this summer. Joining me in one of them will be Miss Ashley from the Port Charlotte Library. She's going to help me with our tinfoil night crafts, so I hope you tune in and check that out. So I have a lot of pumpkin left, huh? I'll make a bigger pie later. So for these larger ones, I'm just going to gently pull on the dough a little bit to make it a little bit wider, a little bit rounder. Give us some more dough surface area to envelope our pie filling in. So just give that a little fold, kind of like that. And then pinch around the edge. It's okay if you get a little bit of leakage, you don't want too much. And there you go. Gonna put that on my tray and do the rest of these. All right, I'm gonna wrap the rest of these and then we'll put them in our oven and let them bake for about 25. Baking times vary for machines. This is a toaster oven. You might be using a regular oven. Your baking time will also depend on how big or small your pumpkin pasties are. If you're making really big ones, it'll take about 25 minutes. For these little guys, it should take about 5 to 10 minutes. So I'm gonna set a timer for 5 minutes and we'll check them in 5 minutes. Okay, our pasties are almost done, so I'm gonna go ahead and mix up some glaze to put on them once they've cooled down. All right, so our glaze consists of powdered sugar. The recipe calls for whole milk, but because I'm lactose intolerant, I'm gonna use my favorite, coconut milk. Give that a little shake. And some pumpkin pie spice. Super easy glaze to make. All right, so we're gonna take a half cup of powdered sugar. I like just to scoop right in and get it out. There we go. All right, so that's half a cup of powdered sugar. I'm gonna mix it up in this handy dandy mason jar. Super cute, right? All right. Put you away. Next, we only need a tablespoon of coconut milk, but I'm actually going to save that for last as I want to get all my dry ingredients mixed together. I'm going to put in 4/8 pumpkin pie spice. So I have my 1/8 measuring spoon right here. I'm just going to scoop it in a little bit at a time. So that's 1, 2, 3, and one more, 4. And I'll use that to stir it up and pour it on. Okay, then we simply need 1 tablespoon of our milk. Again, you could use whole milk, almond milk, coconut milk, soy milk. What's the new one? Oat milk. Let's see. Oh, and that's my timer for the pasties. Let me just finish pouring out my milk and add it right on in here. Oh, my pasties are getting a nice golden brown color. So it's okay to give those another moment. All right. And we're gonna want to keep our milk handy for our last recipe, the Polyjuice Potion. Now, I know you've heard some scary things about Polyjuice Potion in the books, but I assure you, it's really not that bad. All right, so stir this up all nice and good. Keep an eye on your pasties. If you want to take them out now, absolutely go for it. I'm just going to keep stirring this. You're going to notice this is still very dry. It's almost doughy consistency. You want to keep stirring and incorporating everything you can until you get a nice smooth texture, a nice smooth wet texture. Right, scrape the sides a little. Oh yeah, that's coming along really good. I'm going to stop stirring so I can take my pasties out of the oven. Adult help you with this because ovens are very hot. Okay. How do I turn you off? Get all the sides of your container. Scrape the sides of your bowl that you're using to mix your ice glaze in. You want all that powder incorporated into all this liquid. Just keep giving that a couple more stirs. Check your consistency. Thick and drippy. Ooh. Fabulous. This is going to be amazing. All right, give me a moment to clean up my setup, and then we'll go ahead and move on to that Polyjuice Potion while our pasties are cooling. All right, we're finally here at our very last recipe and our actual magical spell, Polyjuice Potion Smoothie. Since clearly we don't live in the wizarding world of Harry Potter, we have to make do with a few muggle ingredients like peanut butter, coconut milk, and even spinach. Yuck! That's okay. This is going to be delicious anyways, I guarantee it. So, very easy recipe. If you don't have a cauldron to make your own potion in, a simple personal hand blender will do just fine for this. First, we are going to start by adding one of our frozen bananas. These bananas have been in the freezer for 3 hours. Nothing's more frozen than a frozen banana. Woo! make sure you get this nice skin off. Maybe peel your banana and then put it in the freezer. I should have done that. That's okay, you can still peel the skin right off. Alright. I love smoothies in the summer. They are delicious. I'm gonna break this guy in half so he fits. Add a handful of baby spinach. It's good for you. And it gives it that weird gross flavor that we're looking for. Because as Hermione said, Polyjuice Potion does not taste good. Next, we're going to add a tablespoon of peanut butter. My peanut butter is extra thick and liquidy, and it's a little crunchy too, just for that added texture. Well, a nice heaping spoonful is always a good idea. Let that just plop right on it. Put the lid back on. Take some frozen blueberries, about a handful like that, and just pop it in. If you like blueberries like I do, add a few more. Blueberries are delicious and so good for you. Next, we're gonna add some fresh strawberries. I say add 2 if you're making a personal size one like this. I've already washed these. I'm just gonna take the tops off and pop them right in whole. Finally, we're gonna add a cup of coconut milk. You can add whatever you like. Non-dairy milk is actually recommended for this recipe. I pick coconut milk because I love it. So we want a whole heaping cup of this. Yep, that's good. And carefully pour that right on it. Look at that. All right. I'm going to play some cheerful and lighthearted music during this part because you do not want to hear this blender go. Alright, so make sure the lid of your blender is securely sealed. If you're using a personal to-go one, make sure the spout is covered. Lock it in real good and blend away. And that's it. That's our Polyjuice smoothie. If you top your Polyjuice Potion with some hair or shredded coconut to taste, and you are set. All right, and here we are. Our delicious treats we made today. We have our butterbeer popcorn, pumpkin pasties, Polyjuice Potion smoothie, and pumpkin juice. If you guys make these recipes at home, please feel free to leave a comment on this video letting us know what you thought. If you liked them, if you didn't like them, if you added or changed anything. We love to see what you do. You guys are so creative. All right, have a wonderful summer and imagine your story.